Essentials 40S. Today we're going to be talking about home finance, so please take out your booklet and turn to page 1. So, home finance. Home finance, the purchase of a home will likely be the largest purchase that you will ever make. Learning how to make decisions regarding the purchase of a home and the many costs associated with the home ownership will help you make educated decisions about your future. So mortgages. Buying a home is the largest purchase that most consumers will make in their lifetime. In most cases, because it is such a large purchase, people do not buy the home with cash. They often will need to borrow money from a financial institution, so like a bank, credit union, mortgage broker, etc. So in order to complete the purchase, this type of loan is called, in order to get this type of loan, it's called a mortgage. So whenever you buy a house, most likely you are taking out a loan, and this loan is called a mortgage. Okay, so there are different types of mortgages. So you have a variable rate mortgage. This is going to be a mortgage with an interest rate that changes with the market. So variable means that it can change. It can one time be 5% and then suddenly it changes to 10%. So the rate changes each month, meaning that the portion of your monthly payment that goes towards interest may go up or down each month. However, your total monthly payment will probably stay the same. And then you have a fixed rate mortgage. So with a fixed rate mortgage, the interest rate is set for the term of the mortgage so that the monthly payment of the principal and interest remains the same throughout the term, regardless of whether rates move up or down. So remember, from Essentials 30S, principal means the amount of loan you took out. So let's say I took out a loan for $5,000. That's the principal amount. Term means how many years. So that's going to be in years. And then you have your rate, which is always a percent. So then we have a closed mortgage, a mortgage that has a fixed interest rate, usually lower than an open mortgage rate, and a set unchangeable term. You cannot pay off a closed mortgage before the agreed end date without paying a penalty. And then you have the convertible mortgage, so a mortgage that you can change from short-term to long-term depending on your financial needs. And then you have an open mortgage, a mortgage that you can pay off, renew, or refinance at any time. The interest rate for an open mortgage is usually higher than a closed one. So, calculating mortgage payments. In order to calculate the monthly mortgage payment, you must use an amortization table or mortgage calculator. In this class, we're going to be using the table because you need to learn how to do it because that's what's going to be on your provincial exam. So we will not be using the internet for calculating our mortgage payments. So if you turn to the last page of your booklet, you are going to find your mortgage table. It's the one that says mortgage loan when paid monthly, and it has the interest rates on the left-hand side, and then it goes 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25 years. So you are going to be referring to this. I do have laminated ones coming, so I will get those to you as soon as I can. So let's go to example number 1. So we're going to be using our table for this. Conrad Weeb purchases a home for $120,000. He makes a down payment of $40,000 and takes out a fixed rate mortgage at 7.5% for the balance of the purchase price. The mortgage is to be amortized over 20 years. Determine Conrad's monthly mortgage payment and then calculate the amount of interest Conrad pays during the 20-year period. Okay, so let's start off. So we want to use the table. First, we need to figure out how much his principal is. So how much of a loan do we need to take out? We know that the house costs $120,000 and we can make a payment of $40,000. So we need to find the difference. So our principal amount equals $80,000 because that's how much of a mortgage we need to take out. So we're going to use the table. So blended payment of principal and interest per $1,000 of a loan. So what you're going to do is you are going to use this formula. Okay, so your principal divided by 1,000, because that's what our table's on, times the rate equals the monthly payment. So our principal amount is $80,000. Divided by 1,000. Then we need to find our rate. So our rate, what we're going to do is that is going to be 7.5%. So now what you want to do is you want to go to your table and find the interest rate, 7.5%. So I found the interest rate, 7.5%. Now what I want to do is I want to figure out my amortization. So my amortization number is 20 years. So I'm going to find 20 years on the table. And then I'm going to find where they meet. So where they meet is at 7.99. So that becomes the rate that I'm going to times it by to figure out my monthly payment. So you're going to use the table. You're going to find the interest rate on the left side and then find how many years it's going to take you to pay it. And when they meet, that is going to be your number for the rate. So now we do the 80,000 divided by 1,000 first. And then we're going to times that by 7.99. So I get an amount of $639.20. So $639.20. Remember, we go to 2 decimal places because we're dealing with money. Okay, so we found our monthly payment. Now what we want to do is we want to figure out how much interest he has to pay. So since we found our monthly payment, we're going to take our monthly payment and times that by how many years we're going to be paying that. So okay, so we're going to do monthly payment times 12. Why are we doing it times 12? Because there's 12 months in a year. So we want to figure out how much we have to pay in a year, and then we're going to times that by how many years our mortgage payment is. So our monthly payment is $639.20. Times that by 12, and then times that by 20 because it's over 20 years. And that is going to get us our grand total of how much, including interest, we paid for this mortgage. So in total for this mortgage, we paid $153,408. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use our formula from Essentials 30S. To figure out interest, we're going to go our grand total, subtract what we started with, to figure out how much interest we have to pay. So the interest we ended up paying over 20 years was $73,408. And that is how we do calculating mortgage payments. So this type of question is going to be on your provincial exam. Okay. Let's try another one. So our next one is Matilda wants to purchase a home that is valued at $200,000. She has a down payment of $25,000. She has negotiated a mortgage with an interest rate of I changed that in your booklet. It should say 5.25%. I didn't want to deal with the 0.28 because they're dealing with a calculator in this sense online. With a amortization period of 20 years. So using the mortgage calculator to find her monthly mortgage payment and then calculate how much interest. So we're going to be doing the same thing. Okay, so our first step is we want to figure out how much our principal is. So to figure out our principal, we need to take the value and subtract our down payment. So that's $200,000, subtract $25,000. Okay, so now let's go back to our chart. So our interest rate is 5.25, so find that on the left side of your chart. And then it's over 20 years, so find where they meet, and we got the number 6.71. Remember, we're doing the dividing first, so 175,000 divided by 1,000. And we get a monthly payment of $1,174.25. So our next step is we want to figure out how much interest we have, how much interest we accumulated. I took my monthly mortgage amount payment, times that by 12, because 12 months in a year, times it by 20, because that's how many years. I got a grand total of $281,820. I took that amount, which was my A, and subtracted it from my principal, which was my start, which was $175,000, and I got an interest amount of $106,820. Okay. Okay, so now we want to find the impact of a lower interest rate. So we're still starting with the same amount, but now we reduce the rate to, that should say 4.5. So we reduce the rate to 4.5%. Now we're going to do the same thing. We want to do our same steps, but now we just have a different interest rate. So the only thing that changes from the previous example is we're going to have to look on our chart to find a new rate. Okay, so our principal is still $175,000. Divide that by 1,000. Now we need to find on our chart. So we have a new interest rate of 4.5%. So on our left-hand side, we look for that. And then we go over to the 20 years, and I get 6.3. So I get a monthly payment of $1,102.50. So now what we're going to do is we're going to figure out how much interest we have to pay. So then we're going to go So then we come up with $89,600. So that is significantly less than our interest that we had built up in the previous example. So for the rest of the class, I want you to work on the impact of larger down payments. So I want you to do that question. And I want you to do the impact of a shorter amortization period. So those are the two questions that I want you to work on today. And that is it.